All right. Well, we're going to go right ahead because we will not be able to take in a lot of people at the same time until we get some of the interviews concluded. Let me say, first of all, welcome to Students Rising. This is a fourth installment of the series Students Rising, Dismantling Repression, Imagining Futures. We had several conversations with a few dozen students, mainly from the United States. And today we are speaking with people outside the United States for the most part, including Hawaii, which seems to be outside the United States because it is quite far. But we're speaking with people from London, Paris, Helsinki, and we are following the same trajectory as before. We have discussed the question of encampments, the question of student activism, and the way a lot of the administrators and a lot of the presidents at universities have called law enforcement to dismantle these encampments, or in more diplomatic ways that still included some coercion, such as in London, have actually tried in many ways to uh, placate and semi diplomatically, semi coercively end some of these encampments. In the interest of time, and given that we have a lot to speak with, I would like to start with a representative from University of Helsinki. And if you can please bear with us, because once we address your story, we will be able to bring in more people and rotate the basically the presence here, because we have a limited time, sorry, a limited bandwidth to bring everyone in. Let me start with Onni, who actually joined us from the encampment and last week, and today he has some really good news for us. So Onni, you're on. The floor is yours. Yeah, you might be muted on your end.
So,
You're good now. You're good now.
yeah, so my name is Onni Ahmanen. I'm a PhD student at the University of Helsinki, and I'm today here representing Students for Palestine, Finland. We have been camping outside of the University of Helsinki for over 2 weeks now, but Students for Palestine, Finland was formed already in the fall, so we've been organizing in and around the campus for about 6 months now, and also we've faced police brutality by the city before. But this encampment, however, has not led to law enforcement being called. So in that sense, it's a bit different from many of the other examples in the US. And like many other cases, we of Helsinki to commit its academic boycott of Israel in accordance with EHESS guidelines. And for the University of Helsinki, the exchange program with the and Hebrew University of Jerusalem, and also stopping collaboration with Israeli funded projects, and also disclosing its various investments through hedge funds, for example, and divesting from those on the BDS list. This week on Wednesday, or rather, the University of Helsinki came out with a statement and actually moved to suspend its exchange programs with Tel Aviv University and with the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. So this is definitely a small victory for the movement and a result of the persistent organizing by people in the encampment. But it's of course one small step, and we are going to continue our fight, continue in some people, and to fight for the full academic boycott now. And that's basically the situation. What we see is that the University of Helsinki refuses to stop collaboration with these Israeli universities in these research projects, referring to vacuous notions of academic freedom, thus placing academic freedom actually before Palestinian lives, and not caring about the Palestinian universities that have been destroyed by Israel, not caring about the thousands of students that have been killed by Israel, not caring about the professors and faculty that have been killed by Israel as a result. And we intend to hold the university accountable, and to actually get it to commit to the academic boycott.
Thank you, Onni. I'm showing here the actual press release, encampment at University of Helsinki, unsatisfied by leadership response. The leadership response, the students and scholars camped at the university says its response is not enough, but you shared with us the rest of the news, which is relatively positive. Your efforts have actually yielded some fruit, but I appreciate your resolve, and we would love to continue to check with you on what's going on. And thank you again for joining us. Do you have any last words before we let you go? I know you have better things to do.
No, it's wonderful to be here, and I really want to say solidarity to everyone on the campuses in Palestine and wherever you're listening to this, and just realize that this is a global struggle, and we're stronger together, and hopefully all of the other struggles around the world will also be successful, and we'll see the end of this genocide, and also the end of settler colonialism in Palestine and elsewhere.
Apologies, my voice wasn't. I was on mute. Apparently, I was saying thank you so much for joining us, and I hope that you can stay in touch and let me know what you are doing in the future, so we can bring you guys back in. And we hope to speak with you again. And we all really appreciate infinite solidarity with you. Take care, Onni. Thank you so much for coming. Shukran. Um, let's move now to EHESS. I'll let you address the situation in your school, this in your university. This is in France, and it's up to you if you would like to mention your name, but I will give you the floor.
Hello everyone, do you hear me well? I hope yes. Okay,
Yes.
so first thing first, thank you very much for everyone. I'm Khan. I'm from EHESS, which is Advanced Social Studies school in Paris, in France. And then we call our occupation like Occupation Layla Khaled, because we like to dedicate our movement under the name of Layla Khaled. Basically we are moved since 7 October, and then we did so many exchanges, especially with the Palestinian asylum seekers, and then all activists. And right now, last week we started occupation, the real occupation. It was like open check student card. We didn't check, engage our movement into different categories, like the movement in New Caledonia, like Kanaki movement. The one goes in the Sudan, and the one goes also in Kurdistan. We like to really organize around the question of Palestine. Last week, on Wednesday, our president, he called the police, And then even though he promised us that until 8 p.m. he won't call, but in any case, he called the police, and then at least 10 car of police, they just arrived to campus and they tried to evacuate us. At least we really resist until the last minute, and they couldn't give an identity check. So, I mean, right now we try to organize our movement into two bases. The one really the Palestinian movement. This one, the students who are not engaged in the Palestinian movement, we'd like to organize them under the civil reservations. Like, I mean, by saying that right now we cannot access our university, so let's have to move around and let's have to act right now. Also, I mean, each we have international contacts. For example, me, I exchange news between Istanbul and then Paris because I have contacts in two universities in Istanbul. So basically like that, and I hope, I mean, really we can see the sunny days with all the Palestinian and then all the.
Thank you, my friend. We are very excited to hear from you. Although the sound wasn't, always perfect, but I think we have gotten the message. Is there any parting message you'd like to share with all these people here who are essentially doing the same thing you are doing? So please let us know. I'm asking if you have anything to say before you drop off.
I mean, we just like a last point, we would like to really into different schools. So that will be really great if some of you would like to.
Oh, all right. And I will make sure that I'll connect everyone together in case they would like to coordinate further. Thank you so much, my friend, and all power to you. And we will be in touch with you soon. And please, you also stay in touch. Salam, salam. Take care. Um, Apologies about some of the audio. There's a lot of people here from like different parts of the world, and the internet connection is not helping us. The next person we would like to speak with is Ismail from Sciences Po. I already outed you because you said it's okay to say your name. So please share with us your experience at the encampments. I know that it was pretty intense, and that you recently have been trying going back and forth. But you tell us what the narrative has been in your experience.
Okay, sorry, is my connection okay? Can you hear me well or no?
You are good.
Good? Is it good? Okay, because my connection is not good, but like I'll speak and stop me if you're not hearing. So yeah, basically we started a while ago, um, pretty much the same time as Colombia. We started our escalation, responding to the kind of moment we were seeing where students around the world were were the ones who had to do this escalation for Gaza. And we started with our first encampment. I can't remember now. Like it was a while ago, and actually it was an unprecedented situation because we were the first in Europe to do so. And the prime minister actually was on the phone to the director. The prime minister of France was on the phone to the director of our university the night we launched our encampment, telling him that that encampment will not see daylight. Like he was not going to let that happen because they are so scared in France of what of seeing the student movement for Gaza starting here in France. And so we saw an unprecedented situation where riot police were allowed to enter the university, scenes which we have not seen in since 1968, which is obviously a very, very precious moment in French history, where we saw, big mobilizations in the university. And so I think that's like an example of why what we're seeing around the world, but especially in France, like in the context that I'm calling you from, the situation, and that's one of fear, scared of these Palestine protests. Um, and I think us at Sciences Po, we were never able to fully realize the camps because we made in total 4 camps, I think, and they never survived more than a few hours because every single time we were repressed by the police. And our university, which has never used police force against students in recent history, became very like accustomed and comfortable with using police force against us. At the beginning, the police force was pretty light. They would just kind of pick us up and drop us outside and kind of like evacuate us out of the area. And towards the end, it was starting to get very violent. There were students who had to go to hospital, and there were students who were arrested. And so we saw how escalation led to further repression. And something I always say to students, and I've been talking to a lot of students all around the world, is do not be scared. Obviously, it's not nice. Police repression is not nice. But do not fear police repression, because I really, really strongly believe that police repression is a sign that we are winning in certain texts. Because the whole point of escalation is disruption. And we're not just setting up these camps, for ourselves to kind of indulge in a culture of insulation. We're here to disrupt. We're here to disrupt these colonial institutions and use these very, very powerful walls to make a statement in solidarity with the people of Gaza. And so the fact that we are being met with police is a very, very, it's a sign of fear. We are scaring, we are shocking these institutions. Now, what we need to do is not be scared by the police, and we need to continue coming back. And I think this is a conversation I've been having with organizers all across the world, is obviously this is not a discourse that people are necessarily going to be like jumping and hurraying for. But it's true, like when we receive the police, we have to come back and we cannot be scared. And I know that we also have to be aware of our privileges. I have a very strong passport, so I can afford to put myself at the front line, and I can afford to get arrested and spend the night in jail. These are privileges we kind of, cannot like forget. We need to use them, right? And so we have many students of immigrant background who are here on temporary visas in France. We should never let them be on the front lines, okay? These are the people who should be doing the background work, can be doing the logistics. Everyone has their part to play, but I really didn't I wouldn't reduce the importance of understanding reactions to police and understanding the importance of escalation. And I think our comrades in the US have done like a really excellent job in kind of, showing us that. Anyway, I won't rant for too long. I thought I would just, say that. That's what's been going on in Sciences Po. Unfortunately, we did about months. Every single time it was repressed by police. We kept going back, did a lot of protests. We created a lot of ampleur and a big mobilization. And I'm really happy to see that, EHESS, our comrades who just spoke, other universities. I'm calling from the ENS, the École Normale Supérieure, because I'm helping them out with their camp. Like, we're all starting to mobilize in France. And so, I'm very, very happy with what we've created, but we're only seeing the beginning. And I think students also need to realize summer holidays isn't an opportunity to just go home and forget about our escalation. We've got to keep going in the summer, and we've got to keep escalating for Gaza.
Thank you, Ismail, and thanks the EHESS from France. I really appreciate what you guys shared. I was just in Paris yesterday, and I spoke with a lot of students and activists. Many of them were not able to join us because they are actually concerned about coming on video or even audio. And I learned that the situation in some places in Paris is much tougher than say London, and it's not as tough in many ways as Germany, because Germany is like literally, how can I say it? Like they're really going crazy on all of the you know activism and advocacy for Palestine. It's unfathomable how harsh they are being in Germany, kind of like worse than the US in some ways, although the US has been extremely horrible, literally horrendous. Now, before I let you go, Ismail, you said something about disruption, that we must disrupt. A lot of people are complaining about the disruption because in their minds it's just disruption for the sake of disruption. Tell us very quickly, if you can, why are you disrupting? Is it just for the sake of disruption, or what is your goal?
The call we have from Gaza right now, from the universities in Palestine, in the West Bank as well, is no business as usual. And the order of no business as usual is, sadly, I don't want this getting on with my life as normal. It's disruption. We have an ongoing genocide. We are in what, over 40,000 deaths. How many mass graves that have been unearthed? Multiple violations of international law. We cannot wait. We cannot freeze. We have been lobbying. We have been campaigning for months, not just months. We've been campaigning for years, and it arrives at the most, multiple times we're let down, and even when we win crumbs. Right now, there is an ongoing genocide. The priority is to stop the genocide. It's a ceasefire, a permanent fire, and until we get that, we need to be disrupting. And it's the students' place to disrupt the universities. It's the workers' responsibility to disrupt the workplaces. And this disruption needs to continue, no business as usual, until the people who are making these decisions in our names, let's not forget, start acting in the way that I think most of the world is headed, in favor of a permanent ceasefire in Gaza, and an end to the massacres, and an end to the killings. And every tiny win that we have had tiny wins. I'm not going to lie, our university is never going to give us what we want, and we know that. The tiny wins have been as a result of mobilization and disruption. And so disruption does work. And I really, really believe that.
Thank you, Ismail, and thanks everyone who joined from Paris. I know that we had a high school student who actually today, along with a group of people, another person had joined, but they couldn't maintain the connection. They wanted to share their experiences today. They actually blocked off their high school and called for the administration at their high school to pay more attention to the same issues that you are all discussing. So unfortunately, they couldn't stay online with us. So thank you, Ismail, and thank you, rep from EHESS. I'm sorry that your audio wasn't as clear for the rep from EHESS, but we will try to make this up again soon, I hope. We will have to move on to University of Hawaii. We might have to rotate things. So Ismail and EHESS rep, we might have to rotate you off if you don't mind, so we can keep the feed clear. Um, let's move to University of Hawaii. Please feel free, whoever would like to start, feel free. I know that there's a lot to discuss. There's so many of you here, and others are waiting to call in. So please feel free to jump in. Whoever would like to start first, I am happy to just be on the passive receiving end. You jump in and share. I know you guys have discussed this amongst yourselves. Okay, how about this? Since it seems that, how about this? Let me play the 4 minute interview I did at in London with a student who will tell us about the SOAS and other encampments, and then we will come back to you if you guys want to coordinate within your group who's gonna go first, second, and third. This way, we will have gotten SOAS out of the way, at least a part of it, because we have other live interviews that I conducted there because they were not sure if they'll be able to join us today. So let's move to that, and then I'll come back to you. We don't seem to be having audio. I am not sure why. Let me try again. 1 second. Good. I'm good. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Hi Yara, how are you? كيفك?
أنا منيحة الحمد لله. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm looking forward to hearing from you about the state of student activism and protests and encampments here in London,
Yeah. So
and about what you do as well.
Yeah, so I'm a member of the Palestinian Youth Movement, and I've been supporting different encampments in London, and we've been supporting different encampments in Britain. So I've been really involved in the SOAS encampment, but I'm also a UCL student. And what we're witnessing in London and actually across Britain is multiple different student encampments. We're seeing over 20 encampments now. And it's really important to highlight that this is not a response to the encampments that have sparked in North America and the US or occupied Turtle Island. It's actually important to situate the encampments that have launched here as a response to the conditions on the ground in Gaza and in Palestine. So students are recognizing that their institutions, all of our institutions, are complicit and are highly linked to Zionism and imperialism, and they are sites that reproduce knowledge and research that continue to oppress our people. So we know that we need to disrupt this power in order to essentially disrupt the power so that we can support Palestinians in Gaza and beyond.
And how was the response of university administration or faculty at these different encampments? And were they all at universities?
Yeah, so some universities have responded actually quite similarly, so it's clear that they're receiving similar instruction. So at first they say to keep it small and peaceful, and they start to amp up the pressure when it starts to become unmanageable. But the point is for these encampments to be disruptive and to be unmanageable. And they essentially have been sharing very similar advice and responses to the students. Some of them have been disclosing their investments, but still their investment portfolio still lists companies that invest in arms companies or directly are arms companies. For example, SOAS invests in Albemarle Corps, which is a chemical company that produces white phosphorus that's used against Palestinians in Gaza. And also other universities have partnerships or investments in like BAE Systems, Elbit Systems, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin. These are arms companies that are literally developing the weapons, the F-16s that are used against Palestinians in Gaza as we speak.
And have there been any violent shutdowns and raids of the encampments along the lines of what we've seen in the US?
Yeah, so universities in Britain operate in a different way to the way that they operate in the US. In the US, it's quite overt power from the police and state. So we very much have been seeing very state-driven violence against the students who have been launching these encampments. Here, the power operates in a different way. They operate through containment and operate through implementing more policies to crack down on students for doing protests. And there's really, really heavy restrictions on free speech and academic freedom. So students feel like they have to be confined and essentially shackled and have to respond in the way that universities expect them to. But what these encampments are doing are disrupting that as well and challenging the status quo and challenging the continuous clampdowns on the student movement.
Sounds quite British.
Yeah.
Brutal and polite.
Yeah, exactly. It is brutal and polite. That's exactly like the university response that came from universities in the first kind of few days of the encampments when they launched it. Keep it small and peaceful. You can do it, but keep it small and peaceful. And this is not how we engage in debate. We need to be doing it at around. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And what about the demands? Were there other specific demands by all these encampments here in London?
Yeah.
Or is it, what sort of demands are you guys putting forth?
Yeah, so most universities have been calling on most student groups have been calling on their universities to disclose all of their ties to the Zionist entities, whether it be investments or institutional partnerships, research partnerships. So to disclose all of their links to the Zionist entity, also to commit to an academic boycott, so they can't partner with any Zionist institutions. For example, SOAS has a partnership with the University of Haifa, UCL has a partnership with Tel Aviv University, so they're calling on their institutions to commit to boycotting any and all Zionist institutions. Also divestment as well from any companies that are complicit in the genocidal project, the Zionist project, and many more as well. For example, committing to rebuilding Palestinian education because every university in Gaza has been destroyed. So students recognize that the struggle needs to be extended here in the diaspora. So we need to be supporting students in Gaza as well.
Absolutely. And is this activity also proliferating throughout the UK, or is it mostly centered in London?
No, actually, they started outside of London and then they came to London. So there's actually quite a few universities in the north of England. We have quite a few in the Midlands as well. I believe Warwick was one of the first to set up an encampment in this country, and that's in the Midlands. And they're very strong there as well. So yeah, we also have some in Wales, like in Cardiff, in the south. Sussex also just launched a few days ago, which is like the south of England. So it is proliferating all over Britain. It's not just centered in London.
That's wonderful, actually, to hear. Is there anything that you'd like to send as a message to people in the US or beyond who are doing the same work you're doing?
Yeah, we don't want coverage of our encampments unless there's coverage of what's happening in Palestine and in Gaza. This is something that students have made really clear. You can even see it through the atmosphere of these encampments. Even the tents are named after cities in Palestine. We've done that so that we can really center what's happening in Gaza and make sure that we're not treating this as like a campsite. It's not for fun. There's a very political purpose that is embedded in what we're doing, and we keep ourselves grounded in that. We have groundings every evening to know what's happening and keeping a pulse on what's happening on the ground in Palestine. Even the conditions, like students might complain for 1 second about how that night has been because it's rainy and wet, but then we remind ourselves that this is a fraction of what Palestinians in Gaza have been facing since the genocide started, with the continuous displacement and dispossession from their homes. And we're actually now commemorating the 76th anniversary of the Nakba, and this is very much a reminder that the Nakba is ongoing, because what Palestinians are now enduring is not different to what they were enduring 76 years ago. So students are rising up to remind institutions of this, to stop collaborating with the genocidal project, and we're going to remember this moment in decades to come.
Absolutely. But I saw some people over here, like after the Nakba rally, they were smiling and joking around. Does this mean they're anti-Semitic?
No, students are rising up, and they are based in anti-racist principles.
No, I'm joking. Just because you said that we're serious here and we're not...
No, but friendly interviewers with hostile line of questioning.
No, I mean I'm like many of us, I'm subjected to these stupid questions all the time when we are all standing exactly for the opposite of what we're being asked for, not just for Palestinians and Arabs, but for everybody. Which is why it's really sad. What is the state of these sorts of accusations here, where if you utter a critical word of Israel, you're automatically suspect for being anti-Semitic?
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of universities have adopted the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, which conflates anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism. But also students are very grounded and are firm in their right to support the Palestinian liberation, because the cause and the struggle for Palestinian liberation, because we know that our movement is grounded in anti-racist principles, and we know that the struggle is driven by people who stand against colonialism and racism and imperialism, and that's like what grounds our struggle. So students will continue regardless of these accusations, because we know what's right and we're people of conscience. Like, this is what drives us. So yeah, I mean, the accusations will continue, but that's because the work that we're doing is powerful. And yeah, this is what the Zionists fear the most. They fear people who are politically conscious and organized, and it's expected.
And quite a few folks turned out for the rally today.
Yeah, counter protesters. Yeah, there was very few of them and many, many, many more of us. So it's indicative of the just nature of our cause.
Absolutely. And of course it's been very diverse. The movement here is very diverse. It's not just Arabs or Palestinians.
Yeah, it's because the cause is for people of conscience. Like, this is essentially what it is, because Palestine means so much to different people, and when Palestine is free, it will expose every system of oppression and every structure of oppression. So that's why it turns out so many different people.
You guys seem to be doing great here, and you have a lot of partners and support from the community. So all power to you. Stay safe, and we should all continue to be in touch.
Inshallah.
Salam. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Sorry, this ran longer than I thought. It's the other interview that's a little shorter, which I will play after we address the University of Hawaii. You guys waited too long. I really appreciate that. Please feel free to share with your colleagues that if they want to call in, we now have a free slate to add you all in. And without further ado, let's start with Kawila. So the floor is yours. And you are addressing your activism and activities at the University of Hawaii. Welcome to Students Rising.
Aloha, my name is Kawila Mahi. I hail from Honolulu, Hawaii. I'm part of